It's Laura Eubanks of Design for Serenity with your succulent tip of the day, and it's Walkabout Wednesday in my Vista garden. I thought we'd start out front today since we haven't taken a look at or checked in on the succulent fountain in a minute, right? I was concerned when I planted this that it would be too shady here. And then I realized really fast that this does get literal sun in the morning. Um, and I was encouraged, and I continue to be, because as you can see, everything so far is looking great. I mean, there are no casualties, nothing's etiolating. Um, I've watered this a couple of times since I planted it about a month ago. Yeah, nothing really to report in that it's so far so good. I ended up using all the soil. Remember that disastrous video where there's no sound? And I was trying to make the agave tenuata variegata work out here, and I had put down how many bags of soil? 3, I think. Didn't we do down here of Kellogg's 3 cubic foot bags of soil? Well, I ended up, as you know, using the agave in the back. Hated it here. It looked terrible. And I used all of the soil too in my backyard installation. So these are leftover pot rocks from the backyard installation. And I'm in the process right now of just, kind of stockpiling materials, because I blew my wad in the back for sure. But I am starting to get a little itchy about doing this area. Also, over here, I have my cactus that I want to incorporate against this garage wall. And Cullen actually brought me these 3 beautiful euphorbia cuttings to work into this area too. I don't know. I mean, we're still talking about perhaps doing some sort of a freestanding structure here with gutters. Another idea that I had was to get blue pots that I could put the cactus in, and then bring soil and boulders in and stage the cactus, at different elevations. I think that's probably where I'll start, and then we'll see, because after that's done, I might not feel the need for the gutters, which makes Greg happy because that's less work for him. Here, this is the true shady spot. And I bought a Sansevieria at Waterwise Botanicals. I am not going to be planting it in this Susan-Ock pot. This is the pot that I had those mammillaria in, that I showed you the other day, that I had transferred into, one into a little green pot and then moved the other one down the way in the cactus garden next to Greg's fountain. So I'm going to wait for something really, really special for Susan's pot. I just didn't want it to get broken or damaged, which is why I stuck it out here where it could be protected. The head planter, the Fred Ives in the head planter, I feel like is starting to etiolate a little bit here in the shade. But check out this aeonium. This is what I talk about with you all. Aeoniums are summer dormant, but you can trick them. If they are in the shade, if the conditions are cool, they won't go fully dormant, meaning they won't close up into a tight bud. They will stay somewhat open, and you can enjoy them and water them modestly throughout the entire year. So, I was interested to see with the head planter, what would do what. The little Vera Higgins is going to etiolate for sure. The aeoniums are doing great, so I'm thinking I might incorporate more of those out here. See, look at this. This is etiolation, where the stem gets longer and longer and longer, and the little leaves get smaller and smaller and smaller, and it kind of loses its shape. So I definitely need to, get something a little more permanent. Either work her in somewhere in the back, which I don't think I can do, or get some plants in here that are going to be a little more appropriate. My Lactea crest that was gifted to me is looking terrific. This is another one that I'm place holding out here because I absolutely did not want this to fry in the back. And it is looking quite happy with itself in this location. Remember this cute little wall hanging that I had over by the hose reel against the house in the Chula Vista garden? I love it here. So, I've got this whole coral reef vibe going in the back, and I definitely want to bring elements of that out front because I want the story to be told all the way through. But I really, really like that there. So I'm glad I brought it and that it's found a place in this new location. So as we work our way around to the back, here is my holding area. These are the plants that were left over from my coral reef project. And this is such a great spot to stash plants because it stays shady over here all day long. So these babies will get worked into the front when I do the area around the fountain out there. I slopped some water on them today because they are in the shade. They're not going to get overly heat stressed and go dormant on me. So I can, gently water them even though it is quite warm. And here in Vista, we hit the high 80s at the hottest part of the day today, but that was it. And we maintained some cool breezes even throughout. I was keeping a very, very close eye on the garden, and I will continue to keep a close eye on it over the next few days. I want to identify plants that look like they might be struggling or stressing with the heat and get them in some shade. So I've got some ideas about how to do that, and I'll share them with you in real time as we go. You'll probably notice that the succulent chair isn't where it's supposed to be. Excuse me, I moved that over under the umbrella today because it was just getting blasted with the sun. Now here we are, it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. This is now, in the shade. My euphorbia, this was getting hit really hard with the sun all day, but it seems to like it. I mean, look at all of the new growth on this. This is a branch that I cut off just recently because it was basically just a stump and it wasn't producing anything. And look at all of the new growth around that cut. So I'm super encouraged with that. This plant didn't really love the move too much and it's kind of pouting on me, which is why I kept it in a pot and didn't plant it in the ground so I could keep a closer eye on it. All right, and everything over here is looking really good. I'm always concerned with the little tender succulents, the little rosettes. These are usually the ones that suffer the most from heat. So if you're going to apply some shade, plants like Aloe plicatilus, pretty much all your aloes for the most part, pachypodiums, tougher agaves, even mangaves will probably hold up, and of course all your cactus will hold up better than, these little delicate numbers. So those are the ones to keep an eye on in terms of providing some shade if needed. I've also been, I also noticed that where this is getting hit right now with full sun, as of 2 o'clock this afternoon, this was in the shade. So feeling pretty good about this area in my garden, that even if it gets, if it gets really, really hot, usually here as the day progresses, the temperatures get lower. So, this can take the full sun if temperatures have mitigated in the afternoon. Moved the umbrella from over here to give some protection to my agave attenuata variegata. That was one of my precious plants that I was really I'm very protective of and concerned about, even though it never showed any signs of stress from heat in Chula Vista. And in East Chula Vista, it would get quite hot. I've had this plant in my collection for about 6 years now. But still, just wanted to be sure. So I stuck my anchor on the umbrella base to keep it from falling over, and just drug the umbrella over there to give it some protection. Some of you ask about the Fred Ives crest, and where was it? It's right here. Remember this from the Chula Vista garden? It is not super happy at all right now. Look at it. It's just desiccated. It's just stressed out. You know how I can tell? Because, for example, these rosettes here, these were large rosettes, and they have withered to practically nothing in the heat and the stress of transplant. So this tells me the plant is not actively growing right now, that it is relying on its resources and its stored nutrients and water for survival. And this is another one that I would be very well served to get some shade over. You can see down here the rosettes that are lower on the plant that actually are, getting a little bit more shade because the upper plant material is protecting it, kind of like an umbrella, are bigger and looking a heck of a lot better. Oh my gosh, you poor thing. I'm so sorry. It is really hot right here. And the radiant heat off of these lava rocks, yikes. So, I don't think I know, this is definitely one that's going to get the shade cloth treatment for sure. Also, my little succulent clam is very tender too, although it did really well. It got hammered in the sun in Chula Vista, but I'm just shocked that these tillandsias are holding up. Okay. What else? Let's see. Everything's looking lively over here. Looks good. There is something so magical about a baby garden. Everything's just perfect for about 5 seconds, right? So fun to see. Here's the succulent chair. Got it moved over into the shade. Also moved in some of my other pots that were, easy to lift. I've got those tucked around to offer them more shade. I fertilized the grapefruit tree today and the lemon tree and watered them both in really heavily. I used the Espoma citratone on both of these plants. And I'm just eager. I haven't really seen much activity. This one, the grapefruit, is starting to, leaf out and show some life. The lemon tree is still pouting from the move, but I'm confident that it will be okay. Been enjoying Greg's fountain. And here's the mammillaria that I was talking about that was in the Susan Ock pot that I have stashed away out in front. And the big, wow, look at my Petalanthus bracteatus. Greg and I stopped over to the Gleasons yesterday because they had reached out to offer me some of their plant when I was complaining about how spindly looking the little pieces were that I had. So today, what I did was I emptied out the pot completely, and then I tied all these cuttings up, like a ponytail with a rope, and stuck them in the pot and then just backfilled with the soil. So these are all cuttings, and between the heat and the fact that they're cuttings, it'll be really interesting to see. I would imagine that all of the flowers will turn brown, the leaves will fall off, and this will look a hot mess before it turns the corner and comes back to looking like this again. But this is the gold standard. This is what I wanted for this area here. I get, a little bit of screening from the air conditioner while still allowing it to have 3 open sides and an open top so that it can do its thing with air circulation. Another concern that I have is my Euphorbia millii. You know, they're not super, don't really love hot. And I have a lot of these little cuties around the garden. You can see here, these leaves are curling. That tells me that this plant is stressing out. And, you know, a little stress is okay. These plants are tough. You don't need to panic. Just keep an eye on them. And, you know, the ones that are looking particularly desperate and really screaming out to you are the ones that you just, whatever, get creative. I mean, figure out some way to get shade on them. You don't have to use umbrellas. You can use tarps. You can use shade cloth. You can, I mean, you can get as creative as you can be. It doesn't matter as long as you can. I mean, don't put things directly over the, you know, like on the plant where they're touching. But if there's a way that you can tent and provide some shade, go for it. Your plants will thank you. Oh, and also, a couple of you complained about my ropo starfish on the driftwood, that it kind of covered up the really interesting architecture of the branching. And at first I thought, nah, you know, I really like this, but I really appreciate your comments, and you guys are sharp. So I'm always looking at your ideas with fresh eyes. And after circling this for about 3 days, Denise, I decided you were right. And rather than remove the starfish rope, I just took it off. I had it hanging up here, and it was covering up this part of the driftwood. So I took it off and looped it here and allowed the starfish to kind of hang down onto the ground. And I'm liking this a lot better because I think you were right. It was kind of cluttered up there. And, you know, this is something that I'm going to have fun with and may move it to a completely other area or somewhere else on the driftwood, or I don't even know. It's just fun to play, isn't it? Okie dokie. See what's going on over here. I cannot wait for my mangaves to get big. That's going to be exciting. 6 months, these things will be tripled in size. I moved my lava boulder to secure my umbrella because I didn't want this thing to blow over. So I put the lava boulder on it to hold it steady because I wanted to protect, of course, my Aeonium crest. That was another really, that's another plant I was very concerned about. The Pachypodium lomerii that was over in our foster plant area in Chula Vista that we took out of a bonita garden because the client didn't like it, is so sad. What a mess. But it's going to be okay. I promise. It will be okay. And what I'm hoping, because it did have some damage with the move, is that damage might actually, it got banged up. I'm hoping that it might branch and do something funky for me. But in the meantime, I'm going to be patient with that plant. Somebody asked me how I kept the sand looking so nice. Well, it's, you know, I just use a broom on it, but I was stomping all through it with my boots today, moving umbrellas around. And that's fine. I don't care. I don't, you know, I'm not worried about it. But I have decided that I am done with the sand. I'm not going to put anything else in the sand. This is good. I may start adding shells to the chest down there, to the crate, just for the kids so that they can take them out and put them in or whatever. But I'm not going to put anything else in the sand. I'm really happy with it just the way it is. That umbrella, this umbrella can also be moved this way so that I can protect this area from too much heat if needed. So really, you know, over the next few days, I'm just going to stick close. I'm going to be experimenting, watching the sun, watching my plants, and remember, don't water, provide shade. Thank you guys so much for following, for commenting, for offering me all of your wonderful suggestions, for subscribing to the channel, and for those of you that support me through the join button.
a million thanks to you for that as well. This has been Laura Eubanks of Design for Serenity with Walkabout Wednesday and your succulent tip of the day. Bye, guys.